Like one of the principles of marriage, I believe, right, is choosing to grow together. And like I was talking about, the past, that every 3 years, how we continue to grow as individuals. That as we're growing as individuals, right? First off is recognizing it in yourself, and then recognizing, like I kind of touched on it earlier, that your partner is also going through that, right? It's also important to be mindful of that and to continue to date your partner, because if they're changing and growing and you're changing and growing, if 3 years later, 4 years later, you have to also relearn who your partner is today, right? Because they might not be that person that was 3, 6 years ago,
Well,
right?
you're mentioning growing, right?
Yeah.
Say that I'm growing, growing, growing. I'm doing my thing. I'm grinding at work. I'm growing as a mother. I'm doing all of these things.
Hmm.
But my partner isn't.
Mm.
What would you say to a couple that may be not as a therapist, just as a husband?
Yeah.
What would you say to a couple that's going through that? Because a lot of times I've seen that
Hmm.
a lot of couples aren't they're not always growing at the same pace.
Hmm.
Like even with us, I've seen that I skyrocket. I sometimes I get out
Hmm.
of control
Yeah.
with how fast I move.
Hmm.
And you're like, "Wait, hold on." So
Yeah.
what advice would you give to a couple that's not growing consistently with each other?
To me, when I think about that, I'm thinking of, then we would have to define what growth is for you and what growth is for me. Because if you're saying you're growing fast, what are you growing fast in?
Just say my business.
Okay, so what about your spiritual life? What about your self care? What about your family life? As we focus in on one pillar of being a human, what the other aspects of it, right? So if we have a front facing pillar, right, of growth, which is business and advertising and marketing, and it's very public, right? What about all the other pillars, right, that are not very public, right? So we have to define growth there, right? So this is
I'm
that
feeling
other.
personally attacked.
I'm not trying to judge. I'm not trying to judge. I'm just trying to bring awareness to that there's other aspects of being a whole and complete human being, right? There's family life, there's spiritual growth, right? And if we skyrocket in one, right, and we only focus on one over the long term, let me give you an example. Um, I've worked with many different entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked with many people who have sacrificed their life to build wealth, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they have it, right? They could buy anything they want, right? They they never got to build a family, right? Because they sacrificed for it. And now that they have all this wealth, it's like some in some of them I could see like the hunger or the thirst in their heart, and in the other pillars that they might not have been kind of aware of because they're so caught in the chase. And that's what I'm talking about. So I believe that if you're alive as a human being, you're growing at something somewhere, right? And it might not be the fancy stuff, right? But I believe every human being grows. We change. It's impossible to stay the same.
No, most definitely,
Yeah.
and I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying like from what people can see,
Yeah.
like, and I'm not talking about our relationship at all.
Oh no,
I'm
of course
mentioning
not.
I'm just
We have so
mentioning.
many, right? So many relationships out
I'm
there of
just
people.
talking like
Hmm.
somebody's growing,
Hmm.
and even with family,
Yeah.
Like someone's taking the kids everywhere and doing everything with the kids and watching things and helping the kids with homework,
Mm-hmm.
and the kids are progressing, and then the other partner isn't growing with the other partner with parenting.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
was just asking
Yeah.
your advice on what you think
Well,
and what a couple should maybe
yeah,
do.
what they should do. Well, like I was saying earlier, in another episode, it was I'm about love and aloha, right? Discovering it and celebrating wherever it can be found, right? So there there are people that are going to come into our life where we find love with and aloha, right? And they will come and walk with us on our journey, on our path. And sometimes they do have to take another path and they go. And then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes later on you're not even realizing it, but on the adventure your paths cross again and you guys walk again for a time. So the love that you have for that space and time as you're walking the path with each other is real no matter what happens, right? And it should be cherished and celebrated, even if that person has to walk
A
another
separate
path,
way.
has to walk a separate way. And that goes for family, that goes for relationships, right? Um, right? Family, talking like even brothers and sisters, mothers, fathers, husband and wives. And I'm not sure, is that
That
that way where you're
answers
going?
it. That
Like,
answers
because you
it.
do, you, if you don't feel matched, right?
Well,
And
you
you've
were mentioning
communicated that.
growing, and that's
Yeah.
why I mentioned that question for people
Yeah.
that may be listening or viewing that
Yeah.
may have that question, because not everybody grows at the same pace.
Right.
But I mean, you got it out there. I
Yeah.
understand what you're
And
saying.
like I was saying, there's other things that we may not be aware of, right? But also it's also what you value, right? So if your partner is growing in a different way that you may not value that, I mean that's your value judgment, right?
Okay. Well, let's get back to the renewals, not the separation. Because I just wanted to mention that
Yeah.
with growth, and I personally think that it's normal in a marriage to have a season to where you're not growing at the same pace or
Mhm.
even in the same direction,
Mhm.
because and I'll just say it, there's been times in our marriage where I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Like, what, this is just a roommate. It's just, if you
Yeah.
get there, but you can come back from
Yeah.
it and come back
Well,
together. It's very
that's part of the choosing to grow together.
right.
Yeah. It's actually in moments like that it has to be a conscious choice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And you do have to spend time again, like I was speaking about this earlier, of self-discovery, right? Of realizing who you were and who you are now, and then doing the same with your partner, right? So it takes intention and carving out that time and that space to do these things that can be difficult to do when we're in the grind of raising children, but it's critical to do that. And one of the things that I like to combo sometimes with the vow renewals are things like a wedding retreat, or like a
Mm,
weekend, or like a marriage retreat or a couples retreat
so fun.
for
Yeah.
a weekend, even if it's for just a weekend, even maybe just like a day workshop. Um, but we get so caught up in the grind, right? And kind of how he laid out how we don't even have the time to discover ourselves, and then let alone like who our partner is now today. I call it setting aside a sacred space time. Like that word is being overused now.
It is
I like to
saturated.
yeah, talk about that a lot. But it's creating. It's almost like creating a ritual that snaps you out of your grind, right? On like a retreat, I like to start off with like a sound bath. that the vibration gets you relaxed and knocks you out of your routine, right? So that the whole point is to reset and get you back to that place again of where you were you were open and playing with your partner, right? Kind of more back to like a more childlike place again, to where you can disconnect just for a moment from the bills and the kids' worries and stuff like that, because you need that. You got to be intentional to create that space so you can rediscover each other again. And I think if couples can get to that place, right? Because yeah, you're busy growing here. This other, your other partner is doing their thing, but it's like we got to hit the pause button so that. And I think if you can create that space, right? There's a reason why you married that person in the first place, right? And in my ceremonies, one of the things that I like to say, and this is popular from other speakers that have come, like my favorite speakers, which is, if you, at the end of your relationship, it's that saying, at the end of your relationship, if you treat your partner like you did at the beginning of your relationship, there'll be no end to your relationship. So what I get from that is that there's a reason why you got together, right?
Mm-hmm.
But your growth and your chase and all of that has got your mind in this pattern routine grind that you can't break away from. You can hit the pause button and revisit that reason, right? Revisit that reason. I just think a lot of couples have a chance to continue to build again, but we lose ourselves in the grind, right?
So tell me about these retreats. So you're talking about vow renewals,
Mm-hmm.
and then the couples retreats and playing with only your
Your
couple.
partner, yeah, you of course, right. You're right. Married committed couple.
I
Right.
just I just want to
Yeah,
make
we have
that
to
clear.
specify
I
in
just
this
want to
town
specify that
here
in
that
this town.
that's going to be another subject for another podcast, right? Like
But
committed monogamous couples retreat, right?
yeah, so is it with the retreats? Are they able to renew the vows
So,
at the retreats,
so
or
yeah.
kind of tell me about how that works?
So I was starting to touch on the process. The whole point is to break your pattern, right? And it's about intimacy with your partner. There's different levels of intimacy. There's like emotional intimacy, mental intimacy, physical intimacy. But to even get there, when we're in our daily grind patterns, right? We're in an energetic pattern, a mental pattern, and a physical pattern, and we're locked into this stuff, right? We drink our coffee, we get stimulated, our minds start going. And when we're in that month over month, year over year, it just gets rigid and locked in, right? So that's what creates no space for you and your partner. So the whole point of the retreat is to break that. So we start with the sound bowls. It's energetic, physical. What's energetic and physical, right? And mental, which is you're getting them to disconnect and to interrupt that pattern, right? To do a reset. And then we go through like couples meditations. We go through different practices to relax and then to reconnect and to pause and to see your partner again with new eyes. Like we're breaking that pattern so we can get back to that childlike place again where we can play with our partner, right? To describe the feel of it, it's like, when you're like a kid and you're playing outside and you run outside the house and you go knock on your friend's door, can Brandy come out and play? Oh, can Cole come out and play, right? It's like, as adults, sometimes we almost need like permission to do that. So part of it is like giving you permission to be silly again, to laugh and joke with your partner, to play. And then when you get to that state, then we do a little bit of digging, a little bit of work of discovery, like who you are today. And you're doing it with your partner and then finding out who they are today. And again, it's that same pattern of giving gratitude of all that you were that got you here and celebrating who you are today. And then we like to close these retreats with a vow renewal.
There we
to
go.
seal it, right?
Yeah.
So it's that whole practice, right? But most of it is trying to hit the pause button to just break your pattern routine. You know?
And I love it. I have to say, I just have to put my little 2 cents in here. Okay, so we've done a retreat and like I've been to some of the weddings that you've done
Hmm.
and vow renewals, and I don't know why I cry after every single one. They make me so, and I don't I am not a crier, but they just make me so emotional because you can just feel the love between the couple,
Hmm.
and then the chanting and then the words that you use. You can like feel that they're back together and they're back to where they were.
Hmm.
So I'm just like, I don't know. I'm so grateful to be able to be there when you do those ceremonies because it makes me kind of fall in love again. You know, it just feels real
I love it.
good.
Everybody
Everybody
feels all
loves
kinds of way
love.
at weddings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what everybody's
And
coming there
vow
for,
renewals.
right? That's yeah. Everybody starts getting their own vibes in their own way, right?
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
it pops off.
I'm
And
really nervous about the one coming up since I'm the camera person
yeah.
and I cry.
Yeah, you usually on point every time with everything else at the camera, but at my weddings,
I don't trust myself.
yeah, you'd be swept up in the whole thing. It's like
The camera
camera
goes
person, where
down.
are you?
You could just see dirt.
Right, but that's why I love doing it. Right, that's
Yeah.
it's aloha. It's a discovery and the celebration of it is love. Right, it fills everyone up with mana, right, with energy, with spirit, with aloha, right? It fills everybody up with love, and I really love being a part of that. It feeds and fuels me, and it's definitely a light years difference from the federal contracting world, right?
Absolutely.
With the
And
cutthroats and stuff.
if somebody were interested in renewing their vows, do they have to like have a venue? Do they have to have a space to do it? Can it like do they do their backyard? Like what is it that
I
you
like you can do it anywhere, but a lot of times your first wedding, everybody's got their 2 cents in on it, right? It's
Mhm.
your parents, their parents, your
Mhm.
family, their family, and it sparks off all these emotional spirals that kind of close in on your day, and it's supposed to be
Mhm.
your day, and then everybody makes compromises on their actual wedding day.
We did most definitely did with
Yeah,
ours.
right. I mean,
I
you
don't even
appreciate
remember.
it, right? All the attention and stuff, but
Yeah.
it brings up so much different things from people on their insides when they're participating. Everybody, grandma, grandpa, everybody, especially you and your partner. And so, what I like about the vow renewals is that you can make it. This can be all you now,
Mhm.
right? Because
Mhm.
you shared in the
Mhm.
first one. Now I could be just by myself on a cliff over the ocean in like Big Sur or something, in some remote place, because that's the dream that I wanted, right? I just wanted to be intimate with me and my woman and the spirit and the universe, and we're just together, right? So yeah, you could do it anywhere, but it will be yours, right?
Yeah,
Be yours.
I loved all three of well, two. How many have we done?
We had a wedding and 2 renewals.
I had a wedding with two renewals. I mean, I just loved all of them. They were all
Yeah.
so different. You know, the first one was on the beach on Kauai
Hmm.
with the family, and then this last one for 2021, it
Yeah.
was really ours.
Yeah.
I think that one was more ours than any of them.
Yeah.
Um,
That
so
was the one I really love the one when we got to go to Hawaii because that's the one that I imagine. It was on the where I'm from in Vainiha, right? Where my ancestors were from for generations, right? The Navajo
mhm.
people, the Mu, at the river mouth in Hanalei Bay.
And it was supposed to rain, remember?
It was supposed to rain and the sun came out.
It was hot.
Yeah.
Not only was it not raining, we were sweating.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful one.
Yeah. It's yeah, that one that's the first spark of me and my kumu aloha journey,
Mm-hmm.
because that's when I learned the first mele, the first pule from the kumu that married us that day.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like he had hair like my father, right? Big puffy fro.
How yours will probably be.
And I was like, oh man, yeah, hit. That one hit for me.
And of course, they all did. It was beautiful. But this last one, I planned the whole thing myself. So, you know, a little bit of
That was fair. That was a blast, right? That was Brandy's. It was, each one was celebrating a new chapter of our life.
Absolutely.
A huge, crazy new chapter. Because
Absolutely.
the Hawaiian one was about ohana and reconnecting, and we had our children
Yeah.
at that time. They were babies, and right, it was the growth of that.
We
And-
should do it again. Should do it again. We're going back to Hawaii. Why not? Sure.
What is it? And we did it right after the 2021
Yeah.
new chapter.
New chapter.
And here we are, right? We
Check us
celebrated
out.
it, and we're boldly stepping into, what we got going on. So,
Yeah.
mahalo for talking story with me, Brandy, Mrs. Kikoa.
Oh, you're very
You know,
welcome. Anytime. Not a problem.
Mahalo Ohana for joining us for talking story with your kumu aloha. And we will. Is there anything else you would like to comment on?
No, I'm good. I'm just happy to be here.
Oh, me too. I'm happy you are here. Okay. Aloha kako, everybody, and mahalo. And we'll talk to you folks next time.